I'm Dr. Kimberly Manning.
And this is Dr. Ashley McMullen. And you're listening to the Human Doctor Podcast, where we explore the human side of medicine, along with teaching, living, learning, and all things in between. Using the power of storytelling, conversation, and connectedness.
Hey, we're two dope academic internal medicine doctors, but we ain't your doctors. So if you perceive anything we say here as medical advice, no, it ain't that. Also, the things we say, they only reflect our brilliant Black woman magic mind and not our employers.
You could have been anywhere, y'all, but you chose to be here with us, and we appreciate you. Let's go.
What's up?
Not much, just feeling very zen this morning. Got to sleep in a little bit, have my coffee, and start my day with you, so I'm feeling good.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, I will tell you that your skin is really glowing today. The melanin is melanin.
Yeah.
Doing its thing.
Well, it's so funny that you should say that, because I spent most of last week down in Big Sur, and it was, for most of the time I was there, it was just so sunny. And I just sat outside in the sun for hours. And I was like sitting out there, I was writing, I was soaking it all in. It felt so good. And then I was just like, wow, my skin really hurts.
Oh, no. Did you get a black girl sunburn?
I got a black girl all the way sunburn. And
no.
it was a good lesson for me, because I had to relearn some things and learn some things new and better about skin protection.
Yeah.
Which I would love to share with everybody. So
please do. Go right ahead.
First of all, a lot of us probably heard at some point in their lives that your melanin, protects you from the sun, which is not necessarily true. Black people are less likely to get melanoma, but when we do, we're much less likely to survive. So it is really important to wear a good sunscreen every day. And many of us have like the moisturizer, like the face moisturizers that have SPF in it. But I realized the mistake that I was making was that I was using the amount just to moisturize my face. The amount that you need to actually get the skin protection is more. So at least a quarter size dollop in your hand, where I was just using like a little baby amount, trying to conserve that expensive moisturizer. So, and ideally, like if you're going to be out in the sun, like at least an SPF 30 or higher. The moisturizers are usually like 15 or 20.
And you need to reapply.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Black Girl Sunscreen?
I learned about it in church, actually.
You did?
Yeah. That's where actually I learned all this again. They just happen to, our health ministry does these really great presentations, kind of focusing on like our Black community in the congregation. And they just happen to be talking about skin protection on Sunday.
See? There you go.
Yeah.
They got good stuff. I like
exactly.
Their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I was, when you were saying you sat in the sun for a long time, I was like, oh my goodness, the people who are like derm folks and everything listening, they're like, oh no.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just out there. That sun was like, you will never underestimate me again. You keep playing around.
Yeah, like you need sunscreen, lady. One of the things in the front of my mind today, did you know Alanna Stone? Okay, Alanna Stone trained at UCSF. She was a medical student originally at Emory, who was in my very first student small group. So I'm a small group advisor at Emory, and every other year I take on a cohort of 7 to 9 medical students that I follow longitudinally through all 4 years. Alanna was in the very first cohort, and I met her in 2007 on her first day of medical school, was with her on match day when she found out she was going to UCSF primary care, stayed in contact with her, and in a really beautiful full circle moment, she returned and joined our general medicine faculty at Grady Hospital, and I got to work with her. Unfortunately, a few years after Alanna joined our faculty, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was caught very early. She was treated for it and, went into remission and was doing okay. And we were all at the SGIM meeting in DC one year, and she was saying she didn't feel good. She felt like she had like a flu-like illness. She didn't feel good. But she said to me in DC that day that she has an ominous feeling, and the way
Oh.
that she feels reminds her of when she was being treated for breast cancer. Something is really not right. She
Mm.
would learn that she had leukemia, actually. And on July 10th, 2017, she passed away.
Oh, wow.
Left behind a cute little son who's probably a big boy now.
Mm.
But I was thinking about her because one, I wrote about her right after it happened, and I'm was just reading what I wrote back then. And I'm really happy that I wrote some things about her, but also just how life is one of those things that you just cannot call what's going to happen
Yeah.
and in what order, and how you just got to live this life with all of your might, and all you really have to leave to anybody is a legacy. You really don't have anything else to leave, you
Yeah.
know. And she was really somebody who was excellent,
Mm.
excellent, like clinically excellent as a human being. She did UCSF very proud
Mm.
because here she was just on a trajectory to really take off. So I'm just speaking her name today,
Mhm.
Alanna McKelvey Stone, Emory educated, UCSF trained,
Yes.
and then Grady raised. Alanna, we remember you. I love you, girl. And I think about you all the time.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was my girl. Party people, it is now the time you have all been waiting for. Ashley and her hair, which is better known as Mahalia, are ready to unleash an
Mm.
amazing story on you. Her skin is not peeling, it looks good, so she's survived the black girl sunburn. And now is the time for you to find out what is the what. So, sis, tell me.
Mm.
I gave you a lot of time to think about what the what
I know.
was.
I know. I was like, this wind-up is
Because
for something.
people think that we like actually have a whole like plan where we plan out like no, we have
Yes.
no idea what the other person's gonna say until they say it. I don't know what she about to tell y'all.
Yeah.
So tell us all, me included, what what is the what?
The what is risk?
Ooh, we have never used that one.
No, definitely not.
Risk. Okay, I
Mhm.
like risk.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
risk.
And yes, just to overemphasize, there's no preparation that happens beforehand. I am literally telling the story and like, figuring it out as I go. So just so
You,
y'all
it's your
can
first time
figure.
hearing the story too.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first time the words are leaving my mouth. So forgive me, y'all. But yeah, though, the what is risk. And I'm actually going to share a little bit about my trip since it's fresh on my mind.
Okay.
And I want to give y'all a little taste of my experience this past week. So the reason why I was in Big Sur was I was at this kind of, how do I describe it? It's like a wellness healing retreat meditation center. It's this place called the Esalen Institute.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more folks in the Bay Area in California have heard of this locale, but it's this institution that has a lot of history. It's been in place at least since the 60s. It's like this beautiful kind of sprawling campus down in Big Sur, like right next to the Pacific Ocean. Part of what this place is really well known for is these hot springs.
Mm.
So they have an area kind of on the campus, like right on these cliffs, like overlooking the ocean, where they have hot spring baths that people come from all over to sit in. Pre-COVID, if you weren't staying at Esalen, you could come get in the bath, but you had to do it between the hours of like 1 a.m. and 5 a.m.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's actually how I heard of the place, because when I was in residency, some of my friends would drive down to these hot springs like in the middle of the night. And I was just like, I ain't doing that shit. Like, I fell asleep, but sounds really cool. So, it's always kind of been in the back of my mind, but never really at the forefront until
Mhm.
recently. And so I had this week off. I wasn't quite sure what to do with. I knew it was going to be like my last vacation before the holidays. Things are kicking up with new interns. And then I've got my own cohort of medical students starting in the fall. So I was just like, I really want to use this time well. And as y'all have been with me, it's been an up and down journey with, my mental health and, dealing with depression and loss. And so I was
Mhm.
just like, let me do something that's going to kind of touch me in a place of healing, but also like maybe push the boundaries of my comfort zone, maybe like take some risk. And so I had been just kind of perusing the website, which I've done periodically. And then, they have workshops there every week. And, they have different types of accommodations, anywhere from being in a sleeping bag or staying in, a $5,000 private cottage. So I was trying to find something maybe a little bit better than a sleeping bag, but not going to break the budget or take up my entire paycheck.
Uh-huh.
But this place is so popular. A lot of times, these accommodations get snapped up. Everybody's trying to fill these workshops. So a lot of times when I look on the website, everything's already booked or it's too expensive. And I just happened to look a month ago and they had a space open, not for a workshop, but kind of like a self-guided, like you can go drop into classes as you want. But the most reasonable accommodation on there was a shared room.
Oh, wow.
And like
A shared room, meaning like you're gonna roll up on a stranger.
me and two other people in a room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you know me, that's a risk. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and we'll see what happens. At the very least, it'll keep me from staying in the room the entire time.
Mm,
So that was the risk I took. I signed up for it kind of impulsively and I was like, boom, we're doing this.
wow.
So I'm driving down to Big Sur last Monday and I'd been excited for this, but as I'm driving, I started getting like a lot of kind of trepidation. I was just like, oh, this is real now. Like, what the hell have I done? I'm about to just roll up in this place. Mind you, there's no cell phone service.
Mm.
There is like occasional Wi-Fi, but it's only available during certain hours in certain places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And as you might imagine, just given the type of place it was and the pricing, it typically attracts a certain demographic that does
Mm.
not look like me. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got out the car and it was like actually like pretty cold. I mean, not super cold, but cold for me.
Hmm.
And so I check in and go to my room, and I was the first one there, thankfully. So I snagged this little loft area that was like semi-private.
It was like the real world where you first want to get to the house.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you choose the best spot and like, pray that everything turns out okay. But like the buildings, especially like the accommodations that I went in weren't spectacular.
Hmm.
It was giving very summer camp vibes. And I was just like, wow, okay, I paid a lot of money for this. Like, when do I get the return on investment? So I left the room. I just started walking around and I was feeling a little ill at ease, like a little definitely out of my comfort zone. This campus, it has a lot of just natural beauty. There's the ocean. There's also a river that flows through in
Hmm.
addition to the hot spring baths. And so it's just a lot of nature. So I'm just walking around, kind of taking in the scene. There's a huge garden. And then at the very edge of the campus, there's this Zen meditation bench, another little enclave where you can kind of sit and be still. And so as I was sitting there, I was really like feeling kind of an ancestral presence.
Mm.
I recognize that particularly when I'm feeling scared and a little out of place, I start to just talk to my grandmother.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was feeling a lot of that, a lot of her presence. And it was just like, I wasn't completely at ease, but I could feel I was like, okay, at least I'm not alone here.
Yeah.
So I walked back to the lodge, like the main area, and I'm just standing still. And I finally like go inside because they're still preparing meals, but they have like some soup out. So I go to get some soup and there's this woman who's standing there and she's like super kind, a little bit older white woman. And she was just like, I saw you standing out there and you just looked so peaceful. I was actually going to bring some soup to you.
Mm.
And so I remembered her face and like her kindness. It definitely put me more at ease. And so that night I met a couple other people who were also there kind of doing the self-guided experience. And there was just this level of openness and like everybody was there just kind of seeking something. And
Hmm.
a lot of folks were there solo. There were couples who were there and other folks who were, had been coming to Esalen for years, and many people who were there for the first time, just like me. And, it was just this very beautiful space of genuine human connection.
Mm.
The next day, I got up and I told myself, I was like, I'm going to go to the first class. We'll just see what it is. The title was Pathways to Joy.
Hmm.
I was like, I could use some joy. So I went to the class, and the gentleman who was leading it, he was this very kind man with long, shocking white hair. And he's just like strumming on his guitar and leading us through this guided meditation. Very peaceful, very zen. And then he stops and he's like, okay, everybody get up. And he puts this music on and he's like, all right, everybody's just start walking around. We're walking around the room. And he's like, all right, start dancing. And then everybody, we have to start dancing. As he's doing this, he was like, we're taking risks. We're taking risks. Okay, now dance with someone you don't know, whoever you stop in front of. And so, as you can imagine, this is literally my worst
Oh
nightmare.
my gosh. I'm just picturing you doing this. I'm like, whoa.
But at the same time, I was just like, I just have to roll with it. I don't, this is the risk I'm taking. And he's
Yeah.
literally like, we're taking risk. And so, like, we're dancing, we're moving. And then he was like, all right, hold hands, get in a circle and like move around. And suffice to say, it was both like absurd, but also just very joyful. Like it was
Mm.
fun. Like there's this group of strangers doing all this crazy stuff. And I don't know, by the end, like everybody was smiling and just laughing. And it was just this very buoyant energy in the room. And, obviously my words will fall short. But again, it was just like this cultivation of both joy and connection and
Mm.
energy. And so I left that workshop. And after that, I just spent more time alone and doing some writing. And, the other important part of this institute is that the meals are all communal,
Okay.
buffet style, like really healthy options. A lot of the food is either locally sourced or grown right there on the land.
Hmm.
And the Wi-Fi is intentionally turned off during all meal times. There's no screens. Nobody's like looking down on their phone or their laptop.
Wow.
And so a lot of friends I made were made during meal times.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think it was during lunch. I was eating my food. I was looking down and then I saw someone ask if they could sit down. I look up and it's the woman from the first day who was going to bring me
Oh,
the soup. And so we were talking and she asked, "Are you a writer?" And I was just like, "Well, not exactly, but funny you should say that. It's like it's one of my dreams." And she was just like, "I saw you and I just knew that you were a writer."
wow.
And get to talking and it's just this really kind, lovely conversation. And she asked me my name because she was like, I want to know your name so that when I see your name on a book one day, I'll remember you. So I gave her my name and then I asked her, well, I was like, what's your name? And she said her name was Shelley.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Did you start crying?
I didn't start crying. I was just, it's hard to describe.
So, for our listeners who don't know the significance of that name, Shelley is the name of Ashley's late grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and that's significant. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not every day you meet a Shelley. I don't.
exactly.
I mean, I know one Shelley, one other Shelley.
Hmm.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. And so I was just like, wow. And I told her, I was like, that's my grandmother's name. And yeah, it was just like a really beautiful moment. This is, the first day.
Yeah.
And of course, as we're talking, another woman had come up to say hello, someone I had met the night before, and another lovely, lovely soul. And she was asking me, she was like, "Ashley, have you been down to the hot springs yet?" And I was just like, well, I've looked down at the baths because the baths are also clothing optional.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and by that, I mean, everybody's naked.
Uh-huh. Everybody opts out.
Yeah, everybody opts out. It's like, it's the brave thing if you choose to wear clothes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I was just like, I think I'm going to do it, but maybe later towards the week, I'm a little shy. I don't know about all that. And she was just like, "I really think you should try it." So I asked Shelly after that conversation. I asked Shelly, I was like, "What do you think of the baths?" I was thinking about going towards the end of the week. I'm a little scared. And she was just like, "I've been here before and I did the same thing. I waited till the end of the time and then I later regretted it. So when I came this time, I went day one to try to just set the tone." And she was like, "Actually, I choose to wear clothes. That's just how I am."
Mm.
And but she was like, "I would really encourage you to do it." So I was like, all right. After that meal, I walked outside and I see the sun starting to come out. That was the other thing, was like, well, I don't like getting in water and it's cold outside. I don't like being wet
Mm.
and cold. That was like, to me, that's like my worst fear about, ways I could die is being cold and wet.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I was like, well, this might be the only time the sun comes out. And so if I'm going to do it, I should just do it now. And I'm going to be like, Shell, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. And I had decided to myself, I was like, I'm going to do it without clothes.
Okay.
Yeah. And for some who might be listening, like, this is not a big deal. For me, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's not something I do and hadn't done before, but we're taking risk. So I go get my stuff and I go down. It's like this kind of sloping pathway down to the bath. It's very much set apart from the Institute because they want to make sure like you're not bringing any electronics, no phones, no pictures, like you're just bringing yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
towel.
Mm-hmm.
I get down to the area and I was just like, okay, there are no changing air. There's no changing rooms. So I just duck into a bathroom stall and I'm just like, okay, we're doing this. So I take my clothes off and I just like shove them into my bag. And I was like, okay, we're at the baths, like we're doing this.
Wow, we're taking risks.
We're taking risks. So I'm like, it's just me in my birthday suit, hang my stuff up, and I walk into like the outdoor area. There's like big communal baths, but then there's like also like single bath tubs where you just like pump in the hot springs water. Everybody's naked and everybody's just chilling. And I like walk up to like an open bath and, I just ask a neighbor, I was like, hey, how do I do this? And, another very kind soul, naked white man was just like, oh yeah, you just do this, and this. And, and I did it. And as I'm doing it, I was just like, perhaps these waters are healing. Maybe they're not. But what was healing was like being in my body and being in a Black body in that space. And just like, I felt very liberated.
Mm.
And it was also kind of a beautiful experience of a collective vulnerability. It was just also like deeply human. It was
Mm.
just bodies,
Right, right.
and it was just like completely desexualized. Everybody was just there, like very present.
Mm.
There's no distraction. Some folks were reading, some folks were just staring at the ocean, some folks were taking a nap and, just enjoying this very ancient natural water. I'm so glad I did that on the first day because I went back every day after that and there was
Wow.
no nerves. It was just tits out.
I
So,
heard that. I
yeah,
heard that.
needless to say, there are many other things that happened throughout the week. Y'all can hit me up separately if you want to hear more stories, but I'm so glad that I did that. I got
Yeah.
what I needed out of that week. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. There were so many beautiful connections that I made, but I think most importantly, I was very connected to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was connected to my grandmother. I was connected to a whole army of ancestors that were rooting for me.
Mm. Mm.
And it has been hard to come back, I will say that, but to go a week without any distractions, no phones, no internet, no cell service, and just being very,
Mm.
very in tune with the natural rhythms of life was healing. And I would highly recommend it. This place has a very robust scholarship system. So, if the prices seem absurd, it's because part of that money goes towards funding folks who wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. So, Esalen Institute, check it out. We'll have it in the show notes. Thank you.
Because we got show notes
Yes.
now. That's beautiful. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that you did that for yourself and gave yourself that gift
Mhm.
and that you were vulnerable and that you took a risk. I was having to like sort of coach myself just to, listen without bias and without, oh my gosh, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's part of the whole beauty of this story. It kind of made me take a few steps back and think about, well, why is it beside the cost a certain demographic that feels safe enough to be able to wade in that water? Um,
Mhm.
we wade in the water, but we don't be wading in no that kind of water in Big Sur.
Yeah.
And maybe, some of these ideas that we get over time about who we are and what we can do and can't do and what we should do and shouldn't do,
Mhm.
it's sort of us buying into, ideas of who we are when every single person is just sort of like an individual
Yeah.
person. I also like wonder like, well, what would you have done if you were with somebody? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because you also needed to be by yourself. I think as I hear the story, I think to myself like, gosh, if I went and did that with people that I trust, even, I think I would have had my clothes on.
Hmm.
Probably if I was by myself, I probably could have talked myself into,
Hmm.
taking that leap. So that too is like, well, hey, maybe the person you need to check in with the most is you.
Hmm.
And maybe you are the person who needs to permit yourself to try new things and, let people see that you got some cellulite on your right thigh. Um, you know, and
Yeah.
realize that they actually don't care.
Yeah, I was feeling a lot of that in terms of, maybe this would be easier if I had a friend, but I think it's a different vibe when you're there with someone because you're a certain person with your friends.
Yep.
And this kind of gave me permission to just to be who I was like in that moment.
Mm,
And it wasn't Ashley, the doctor, or like the black doctor, or like whatever. Like it was just me. And
mhm.
that was what was so important. And I think it's important to set intentions before you do something like that, to understand like what it is that you're actually meeting. I,
Yeah.
I did that with my therapist before I left. And I think that was really helpful for me to understand
Hmm.
like what is my intention here and how am I honoring that. The other thing about us in those spaces, us meaning the Black community, I think, because when I think about risk, I think risk for us is weighted a lot differently
Yeah.
than other folks. Like anything that you do that seems maybe a little out of pocket is going to be heavier, just given, it's already a risk just existing.
There's also belonging to our own community.
Hmm.
And, when you first started telling the story and you were like, oh, I went to Big Sur by myself to this Eat, Pray, Love Institute. um, I started to joke you about it. Really, I did. I started to kind of joke you about it, but I I said, well, why am I doing that though? Why am I saying that?
Hmm.
Why am I saying something that suggests that Ashley is an incredible outlier because she's interested in going to Big Sur by herself, or she wants to go and look at eucalyptus trees or look at, astronomy. Why can't she do that? Why can't that be okay for that to be her
Hmm.
interest? And the truth is that metaphorically, we all have things that if we were permitted to, or if we permitted ourselves to, that we would have full interest in, that we could really get into more, but we just sort of walk a line, right? That is like, oh, okay, this is what we do and this is what we don't do. And there are some things that, as a Black American that are just truly how I feel and what I like to do that do align with Black culture.
Hmm.
I remember about 10 years ago, my younger sister got me tickets to see James Taylor in concert at the Hollywood Bowl. And she knows that, like, low key, that's one of my favorite artists ever. And this little white man on his guitar singing his little sad songs is just one of my favorite things. But, it's not that many people I can just be like, yo, go with me to see James Taylor in concert.
Hmm.
My sister and I went to this concert, and my sister like is very sort of unapologetic about her interest in all sorts of things,
Hmm.
but that was always something that I kind of kept on the low. And I was so happy and it was so good. And I was like, well, why does this have to be reserved only for certain people? Like this
Yeah.
is so that's something I'm trying to work through.
Hmm.
Like loving the things that culturally align with me, but also opening my soul up to all sorts of other adventures
Yes.
that you may not immediately assign to a Black girl from Inglewood.
Yeah. I think sometimes we fall into the risk of overly identifying with a particular group or particular narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, I was and am like that still to a certain degree. I'm working on it, or at least not feeling so self-conscious about the fact that I really love nerding out on certain things like
Right.
trees and planets and the cosmos. And
Right.
yes, I am Black and I love Black culture, but that is not the fullness of my experience. I was self-conscious about going to therapy. I didn't think Black people went to therapy. I thought Black
Yeah.
people went to church until my
Yeah.
pastor, Rudy Rasmus, told me he was in therapy. So that's when I started
Like
going.
what? Exactly. And y'all, I'm still working on how I feel about hiking. I still don't understand hiking. Um, I know a lot of Black people who hike though. I'm just
Yeah.
like, go walking where?
What's what's the end game
Where
here?
are you going? What you gonna do when you get
Yeah.
there?
So
Anywho, I love that. I love that you had that time to yourself and
mhm,
that you filled your own cup back up.
mhm.
Shout out to Shelly for, rolling up on you and
Yeah.
talking to you and blessing you with maybe with some prophetic words. Who knows? We
Mhm.
might be at your book signing in the next couple of years. Who knows? So
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe we can all make a commitment to take some risks, some big
Mhm.
risks, some small risks, but just kind of talking yourself out of just standing in the same box.
Mhm. Yes.
Well, sis, I love you and your melanated skin that now I'm sure you will put sunblock on.
Yes. Yes, I've done some gentle exfoliation and we are now going to be sun protected from here on out.
Yes. Yes. Well, have the most amazing week. Do epic things, take risks, and walk up to a stranger and affirm them to pay it forward.
That wraps up this week's episode of the Human Doctor Podcast.
Special thanks to our favorite brother gastroenterologist, Dr. Chuma Obiname, for the beats. Shout out to the Dr. Ashley McMullen for editing and production.
Mad love to our podcast family at The Nocturnist and the Clinical Problem Solvers, our Med Twitter fam.
And especially shout out to all of you, our listeners.
Until next week, remember,
we see you and you are enough. Holla!